2 years ago, I was sitting in the back of my shitty Toyota, watching the rain pool on the windshield, eating cold gas station sushi in the parking lot of a WeWork I couldn't afford to rent anymore. Yeah, glamorous, I know. That day, I just had my startup's third investor pitch rejected. Third one that week. And as I stared at the pale piece of fish on rice, I got a Venmo request from my mom. Can you help cover your sister's dental bill? She's in so much pain. And I sent it. $400, just like that. No hesitation, no let me think, just sent. Because that's what I always did. I said yes every single time. Fast forward to last week. I was boarding a damn plane to Tokyo. First class, noise-canceling headphones on, sipping a whiskey I couldn't pronounce, and my phone blew up, texts, calls, voicemails, all from the people who once told me I'd never amount to anything. Funny how quickly they remember you when their mortgage bounces. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this whole mess started. Back when I still thought being loyal to people meant something. A year ago. Back when I thought I was building something that mattered. My name's Lucas Harper. I'm 30 now. Grew up in Oklahoma, middle kid. My older brother Brandon was the high school quarterback / local god, and my younger sister Tessa, princess of the county fair every damn year. She once cried because she got a silver medal in choir, and my mom actually called the school to complain. Me, I built computers in the garage and stayed invisible. That invisibility didn't bother me. Not at first. I liked flying under the radar. Moved to Austin, lived off microwave burritos, and started a small dev firm called Neuralbyte. I coded until my fingers were numb. I took freelance gigs just to make rent. At one point, I literally shared an apartment with a dude who ran a snake breeding business out of the kitchen. You ever walk in at 2 a.m. and see 6 pythons chilling next to your air fryer? I have. But eventually Neuralbyte clicked. Took 3 brutal years. But I landed a government automation contract. Revenue exploded. Hired a team. Got office space. Got noticed. And that's when the family remembered I existed. 6 months ago. The request started off. Cute. Brandon just needed help covering the final payments on his F-150. He was about to get promoted, you know. Tessa's financial aid didn't cover her private design school. My parents' roof was leaking, the furnace was dying, the kitchen needed remodeling, blah blah blah. And I said yes, because part of me was proud I could help. The kid who used to duct tape his shoes in winter was now footing tuition bills and home renovations. I told myself I was building a legacy. That maybe one day I'd look back and think, yeah, I made life better for them. But that's the thing about people who always take. They don't see it as generosity. They start thinking it's owed. Then came Thanksgiving. My place finally had a yard. So I hosted. Had it catered, decorated, spent way too much time folding cloth napkins like a Pinterest mom. Not a single person offered to help clean up. Not even a goddamn dish. Brandon made this big toast about how family sticks together, never mentioned I paid for the whole thing. Tessa spent half the dinner texting. My dad talked for 20 minutes about how kids these days have it easy. I smiled. I laughed. I played host. Inside, I was suffocating. Then came that message, the one that cracked the last piece of me. It was some random Tuesday in January. I had just finished a 14-hour Zoom day with a European AI client. My back hurt. My eyes were fried. I wanted soup and silence. Instead, I got a voicemail. It was my dad. His voice sounded tired, bitter. You know that tone dads use when they're trying to be both disappointed and superior. All you do is take Lucas. You've never given this family anything that mattered. If you had any pride, you'd stop acting like we owe you and just leave. I swear to God, I thought it was a mistake. I played it again. Same words. Same fucking tone. I didn't yell. Didn't call back. I didn't even throw my phone like I wanted to. I just stood there staring out my kitchen window at the skyline I once dreamed of. And something inside me just broke, quietly. No fireworks, just snap. That night, I did what none of them ever expected. I opened my laptop, texted my assistant. Pause all family-linked outgoing payments indefinitely. Effective immediately. Then I packed a bag. No goodbye text, no announcement. I booked a cabin in Estes Park, Colorado. Left that same night. 3 days passed, then a week. Nothing. Not a single call or text. It took them nearly a month to realize their golden debit card had vanished. 4 weeks. That's how long it took them to notice I was gone. Not gone like dead in a ditch gone, just missing from their finances. Which, let's be real, is the only part of me they were checking in on anyway. It was a Friday night. I was sitting in this small mountain cabin sipping shitty instant coffee, watching a fox dig around in the snow outside the window. And then my phone buzzed. Tessa. Her message. Hey, I just got a notice from the school portal. My tuition didn't go through this month. Is something wrong with the account? I sat there for a second rereading it like maybe I missed something. No hi, no how are you, no thanks for 3 years of tuition. Just straight to the panic. So I replied with one line. Thought I never gave this family anything. She didn't respond. But within the hour, 5 missed calls from my mom, 2 from Brandon, 1 from a number I didn't recognize, and yeah, voicemail from my dad. Wanna guess what he said? Lucas, we need to talk. Whatever this little stunt is, it's not funny. Your sister's future is at stake. No apology, no accountability. Just that same classic Harper family tone you owe us. That weekend, I booked a flight to Denver. Never been before, but I needed somewhere far enough from Austin that I couldn't smell the entitlement. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Just drove up into the Rockies, checked into a quiet Airbnb with this killer view of the mountains, and for the first time in years, I unplugged. No emails, no Slack, no bank alerts. No, can you just send one more thing? I slept, man. Like real dreamless, guilt-free sleep. Every morning I walked to a tiny cafe that played Fleetwood Mac and served breakfast sandwiches bigger than my face. I'd journal, sip coffee, and watch the world go on without me. It felt weird at first, like I was committing some kind of crime by not showing up for someone else. But slowly that weight, it lifted. One piece at a time. Midway through week 2, I rented a car and drove to Boulder. Hiked alone. Stood at the edge of this ridiculous cliff trail, the valley stretched out under me like a postcard. Cold air in my lungs, silence in my chest. And I started laughing. Out loud, like full-on echo off the rocks kind of laugh. You ever laugh so hard it turns into crying and you're not even sure which one started first? Yeah, that was me. Because out there in the middle of fucking nowhere, I realized something horrifying. I had no idea who I was when I wasn't rescuing everyone else. That's how bad it had gotten. 3 weeks after I left, my mom finally broke the silence with something longer than a guilt-drenched voicemail. She emailed me. Subject line. We need you to come home. No greeting, no warmth, just a block of text that basically went, I don't know what's gotten into you. Your father is furious. We've done so much for you. Family doesn't abandon family. And I read that line over and over. Family doesn't abandon family. Except they did. Every time they made me feel like a living ATM, every time they forgot my birthday, every time they called me selfish when I said no. That wasn't family. That was a damn utility contract with emotional manipulation on the side. I forwarded the email to Daniel, my lawyer, the guy who helped me set up a trust fund years ago when things took off. Told him, start transferring my sister's tuition funds to a public scholarship foundation for first-gen students. Told him to find kids who actually needed help, who wouldn't spit on the hand feeding them. Also asked him to look up the lakehouse deed, the one I fully paid for under the promise it'd be a shared family getaway. Turns out the property was still legally mine, so I made another decision. That Sunday I flew back to Austin. Not to make amends, not to talk it out, to collect receipts. Didn't tell anyone I was coming. Landed around noon, picked up a rental car, and drove straight to the lakehouse. The place looked exactly like I remembered it, picturesque, over-renovated, and fake as hell. Like a rich influencer's background prop. I unlocked the door with a key my mom forgot I still had. Stepped inside. Family photos lined the hallway. Not one of me. Swear to God, I was the one who paid for the fucking house, and you'd think I was a ghost. So I started taking pictures. Every room, every cabinet, every detail Daniel might need for the real estate listing. Because this house, it was going up for sale. And they were gonna find out the hard way. Monday morning, I sent a message in the family group chat. First time I'd messaged in over a month. I wrote, you said I never gave this family anything. So I'm giving you what you've always acted like you wanted: distance. No more tuition, no more car payments, no more roof repairs. Sell your own memories. I'm out. Then I left the chat. Blocked them all. Felt like tearing duct tape off my soul. I thought that would be the end. Spoiler, it wasn't. Within a week, Tessa was facing expulsion. Brandon lost his job, apparently missing shifts, trying to fix the car repo situation. My parents' mortgage defaulted. And me, I was halfway across the Pacific sipping tea on a plane to Tokyo. No strings, no guilt, just peace. For the first time, I felt like I was mine again. Mid-flight when Wi-Fi kicked in, the flood hit. Dozens of missed calls, random numbers, desperate voicemails, crying, begging. My dad's tone went from, "You're selfish," to, "Please come home real quick." I didn't listen to any of it. Just watch the notifications stack up like unpaid bills. Because it's always the same. When you give and give, they call you a hero. The second you stop, you become the villain. A few days into Tokyo, I unblocked one person, Emma, my cousin on my mom's side. She was always different, stayed out of the drama, never asked for money, never fed the golden child narrative. She'd only sent me one message during the whole blow-up. "When you're ready to talk, I'm here. Not to fix anything, just to listen." So when I got back stateside, I texted her. We met at this tiny cafe near her apartment. One of those weirdly charming places where the tables wobble, the lighting's terrible, but the coffee's so good you forget your name. She slid her laptop across the table. "I need to show you something." I wasn't sure if I should, but it was a Reddit thread. Under a throwaway account, of course, but it didn't take long to recognize Tessa's writing. The title, "My brother abandoned us during a family crisis. Now I might lose everything." I felt my jaw tighten before I even finished the first paragraph. She spun the whole thing into some fake sob story, how I cut ties out of nowhere, refused to explain myself, and let our family fall apart while I traveled the world like nothing mattered. She said I was unwell, that I was having a breakdown. She claimed I'd been erratic for months. And the worst part, people believed her. The comment section was full of strangers offering sympathy, even money. One guy sent $1,000. She raised almost $6,000 in 3 days. I didn't even feel angry. Not really, just sad. Like, this is what she learned from me. This is what she did with all that help. I didn't clap back. I didn't post a call out. I didn't even report the thread. I did something quieter. I dug up every single payment I'd ever made for her education. Tuition receipts, dorm deposits, book fund transfers. Even that time I Venmo'd her $300 because she lost her wallet in Cancun. I compiled them into a clean date-stamped Imgur album. No names, no drama, just facts. Then I posted a single anonymous comment on her thread. "Before you donate, maybe ask where the other $90,000 went." That's it. No follow-up, no explanation. And within 24 hours, her post got removed by the mods for suspicious fundraising behavior. The comments turned on her like a pack of wolves. Poetic. A week later, I got a certified letter at my office. From my dad. Not handwritten, typed. Legal-ass formatting like this was a custody case. It started with, "We are formally requesting a meeting to discuss the breakdown of our family dynamic." I actually laughed, out loud, in the middle of a product strategy meeting. Buried in the legal jargon, they wanted a portion of the proceeds from the lakehouse sale. Why? Because they believed they had emotional equity. I showed the letter to Daniel, my lawyer, while we were eating barbecue on a rooftop downtown. He looked up half a rib in his mouth and said, "Want me to remind them that emotional equity isn't real estate law?" I said, "Go wild." We sent them a digital copy of the agreement my dad had signed years ago, back when I offered to pay for the lakehouse renovation on one condition: that it would remain my property with zero future claims. My dad's own signature was at the bottom. Never heard back after that. But oh, they weren't done. Because just when I thought it was quieting down, Daniel hit me with this gem. "Hey, remember that main house? The one you helped your parents refinance years ago?" Yeah, I remembered. Turns out, I'd loaned them nearly $80K under a verbal agreement when their mortgage was circling the drain. I'd wired the funds in chunks over 18 months. Guess what? They never paid back a cent. So Daniel filed a lien, which meant legally I could force a sale. The house went up for auction 2 weeks later. I didn't announce it. Didn't rub it in. I just showed up on the day with a coffee in hand and watched. The auction was surreal. The house I helped save, the place I used to patch drywall and install ceiling fans in, now had a no trespassing foreclosure sign staked in the front lawn. I parked across the street and waited. Eventually they arrived. Brandon, Tessa, Mom, Dad all packed into that old Chevy like they were headed to a funeral. And I guess in a way they were. Tessa got out first, puffy eyes behind big sunglasses. She looked like a hungover sorority president. Brandon followed, scowling like his scowl could undo a legal process. Then Mom, and finally Dad, walking like he still thought he owned the ground. He saw me instantly. "Lucas," he barked, "we need to talk, now." I didn't move. He marched up. Brandon shadowed him. "You're really doing this," he said. You're going to humiliate your own family over what some perceived slight. I looked him dead in the eye. It's not a slight, it's a pattern, and it ends today. His jaw flexed. You ungrateful little… I raised a hand. Don't, just don't. Tessa walked up, voice cracking. I'm gonna lose my scholarship because of this. I dropped 2 classes already. Why are you doing this to us? I stared at her. I paid for your first 3 years. Every class, every book, every meal plan. You never said thank you. Not once. She opened her mouth. I cut her off. You lied to strangers for money. You painted me like some unstable villain. And now you want sympathy. She went pale. Mom tried the guilt card. We're still your family, Lucas. I laughed. No, you were a system. One that only worked if I stayed silent. The auctioneer called for everyone to take their positions. The house sold within the hour. A retired couple paid in full. Wanted to be closer to their grandkids. Perfect. Daniel handed over the keys. I signed the papers, no drama, no scene. Just clean, satisfying finality. 3 weeks later, the movers came to clear the house. My parents, they didn't even pack most of their stuff. Just grabbed what they could and left the rest in cardboard chaos. The movers found a journal in a box labeled junk. It was mine. High school. Pages full of dumb dreams. Get into college. Build something important. Take care of my family. I closed it. Didn't even read the last page. Tossed it in the donate pile. Because some dreams, they were built on the wrong people. A few days after the movers cleared out the house, I stood in front of the now empty driveway, holding nothing but a key and a letter Emma handed me. She'd stayed neutral through everything. Never picked sides, never stirred the pot. But she was there. She showed up when the family didn't. She walked through every room with me silent, no commentary, just present. That was more than I ever got growing up. When we locked the door for the last time, she looked at me and said, "You did the right thing, even if it doesn't feel like it yet." And she was right. It didn't feel like some grand victory. It wasn't cinematic, no slow clap, no dramatic apology, just silence. The kind that echoes in your ribs. But it was over. Finally. After all that, I left Austin. Didn't throw a party, didn't post a single thing, I just left. Sold my condo, broke my lease on the office, handed off Neuralbite to my COO, and bought a loft in Portland. It's small, exposed brick-high windows and smells like cedar half the time for some reason. I love it. I furnished it slowly. Didn't rush to fill every corner. Just brought in what I actually needed. No junk, no ghosts, just me. And for once that was enough. The first few weeks were quiet, like weirdly quiet. I'd wake up and instinctively check my phone for some new family disaster. Nothing. No sudden car repair bills, no tuition panic, no Lucas, can you just… It was peaceful, which honestly scared the shit out of me at first. Because when you're raised to brace for impact every time someone calls your name, peace feels like a trap. But the silence stayed. And slowly I started filling it with better things. Morning runs, random bookstore crawls, cooking my own damn meals. Shout out to Emma for teaching me how not to poison myself. I even adopted a rescue dog. Scrappy little mutt named Rusty, who growls at air but sleeps like a baby on my chest. He trusts me. And that's something I forgot I needed. Work was still work. I kept consulting part-time. Quiet contracts, small teams, stuff I could do from home or a coffee shop. No stress, no 3 a.m. deployments. The weirdest part, I made more now than I ever did burning myself alive for everyone else. It's almost insulting how easy it is to succeed when nobody's leeching off your energy 24/7. I started writing again too. Nothing serious, just late-night rants, blog drafts, the occasional Reddit scroll. And that's when I stumbled across something that stopped me cold. Tessa again. Another post. Different throwaway but same tone. Same style, same performative panic. This time, she said I manipulated the family into thinking I was a victim. She claimed I used financial leverage to punish them. She even implied that I'd stolen from our parents. Said the house was ripped from under them by legal trickery. No facts, no receipts, just drama. The kicker, she included a GoFundMe link. Again. And people were donating. I stared at the screen, scrolling through the comments like I was watching strangers slap me across the face one by one. It would have been laughable if it didn't sting so damn bad. Even after everything, she was still milking sympathy, still crafting herself into the protagonist. I didn't confront her, didn't call, didn't comment. I did something quieter. Sent the GoFundMe link to Daniel. Told him to flag it with the platform's fraud division. Then I sent an anonymous tip to the moderators of the subreddit, attaching screenshots of the old thread, the imgur proof, and Tessa's payment history, all documented, all legal. Didn't even have to say much. Facts speak louder than liars. The post was gone within 12 hours. The GoFundMe shut down within 24. I don't know if she got to keep any of it. I hope not. Emma texted me the next day. Did you see her meltdown on Instagram? I hadn't. I don't follow any of them. But curiosity got the better of me. I peeked. Sure enough, there it was. A shaky, tearful story about how some people just can't let go of hate and forgiveness is free, but not everyone can afford it. She was crying in her car, filming herself like it was a damn audition. Caption: family is everything, even when they don't act like it. I almost threw my phone, but instead I closed the app and went outside. Took Rusty for a walk. Bought myself a hot chocolate. Looked at strangers on the street and felt nothing but relief that none of them expected me to fix their mess. Weeks passed. The story didn't go viral. No scandal broke. No one showed up to expose Tessa on TMZ. But it didn't need to. The silence that followed her shutdown. That was the consequence. No more donations, no more sympathy, just an algorithm that moved on without her. And me, I got a new contract with a medtech startup. Chill founders, remote work, paid on time. The CTO even asked for my opinion in meetings. Imagine that respect without begging. And one night while I was journaling with Rusty curled up next to me, it hit me. I don't want revenge anymore. I want distance. Revenge still leaves a string between you and the people who hurt you, even if you're the one holding the scissors. But distance is freedom. It's deleting the number and forgetting it existed. It's waking up and realizing you didn't think about them all day yesterday, and that's a win. Then something I didn't expect happened. A letter. Handwritten, no return address, just Lucas on the front in my mother's handwriting. I almost didn't open it. I stared at it for 3 hours, put it on the kitchen counter, walked past it like it was cursed. But eventually I sat down and read it. It wasn't long. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know, I understand now. I didn't back then, but I do now. You gave more than we ever saw. I'm sorry. No excuses, no begging, just 4 lines. And I cried. Not because I missed her, not because I forgave her, but because part of me still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone saw me. Finally, even if it was too late, I kept my mom's letter. Didn't reply, didn't write back, didn't tell anyone I got it. I just folded it up, slid it into the back of a journal I barely touch anymore, and left it there. Because some words aren't meant to be answered. They're just acknowledgments. And even though it didn't erase anything or undo the years of silence and expectation and guilt, I still felt something shift after reading it. Like a knot untying. Quietly. Life went on. Rusty developed a weird habit of hiding socks under the couch. My medtech client offered me an equity stake. I finally finished reading that one damn Murakami book I'd been pretending to finish since college. My therapist, yeah, I caved. Emma referred me, said something that stuck. You didn't destroy your family, Lucas. You just stopped participating in a system that required your silence to survive. That hit like a brick to the face. Because for the longest time, I thought walking away made me the villain. Turns out I was just tired of bleeding for people who never asked if I was okay. Anyway, fast forward to last month. Downtown Portland, Saturday morning. I'm grabbing coffee before a planning session with a new startup team. Hoodie on, beanie, full don't talk to me energy. And then I hear someone say my name. Lucas. I froze. Turned. And there he was. Brandon, of all people, standing 6 feet away in a fleece vest and Nikes looking like every finance bro in a Subaru ad. He looked smaller. Not physically, just less. You know, like someone took the air out of him. I didn't say anything. Neither did he. For a second, it was just awkward blinking. Like both of us weren't sure what planet we were standing on. Then he stepped forward. Didn't expect to see you here. I shrugged. Didn't expect to be seen. He laughed once, no smile. I heard about the house. Mom told me what happened. Oh, now we're calling it what happened. Like it wasn't a foreclosure with my name on the lien. I stayed quiet. He shoved his hands into his pockets. She also said you got the letter. Still said nothing. Then he added, she meant it, you know. I think she really does get it now. I looked at him deadpan. Tessa still out there crowdfunding her way through therapy. He winced. Nah, that died out. Shame. I was looking forward to chapter 3 of her villain origin story. We both went silent again. Rusty barked once from where I'd tied him to the bike rack. Brandon glanced over. Nice dog. Better sibling than you. I said it casually. No venom, no edge. Just truth. He didn't argue. Just nodded slowly. Then softly, you hurt us, man, but I think we deserved it. That one, I wasn't ready for. I turned to face him fully. You didn't just deserve it, Brandon. You earned it. With interest. He nodded again. Didn't flinch. I was jealous, he said. That made me laugh. Actually laugh. Jealous of what? My ramen noodle years, or the part where Mom forgot my birthday 3 years in a row? Jealous of how they leaned on you, how they listened when you talked, how you built something without any of us. That quieted me. For the first time, I saw him as something more than a self-absorbed jock with a superiority complex. I saw a dude who got sidelined in his own life and didn't know how to admit he was scared. He reached out, hesitating. I don't expect anything. Just glad you're okay. I didn't shake his hand. But I didn't walk away either. I just said, thanks. And we left it at that. No closure speech, no hug. Just two adults in a parking lot realizing they might not hate each other anymore, but they also weren't who they used to be. And maybe that was enough. Later that night, I sat on the balcony with Rusty at my feet and watched the streetlights flicker against the rain. I kept thinking about what Brandon said. About being jealous. It haunted me in a weird way. Not because I wanted his envy, but because it meant all those years I spent trying to be good to earn space in a family that didn't know how to love me right. They saw it. They saw me. They just didn't know what to do with me. And instead of asking, they dismissed me. Which honestly hurts more than hate. I thought closure would feel big, explosive, like a courtroom win or a movie ending. But it's not. It's a whisper. It's the absence of a reaction when someone says your name. It's walking past a memory and not feeling like you're bleeding. It's buying your own damn birthday cake and lighting the candle anyway. A few days after running into Brandon, I did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote a letter. To myself. I know sounds cheesy as hell, but whatever. Therapy brain got to me. It wasn't long, just a single page. You did enough. You were enough. They didn't see it then, but you do now, and that's what matters. I folded it, put it next to my mom's letter in the journal. 2 pages. One from the past, one from the present. Bookends to a chapter I finally stopped rereading. I've got a new project starting soon, co-founding a platform for independent creators, writers, coders, small biz owners, helping them build without selling their souls to corporations or family guilt. It's ironic in a way. I spent most of my life giving things to people who didn't appreciate it. Now I'm building tools for people who'll value what they're given and who'll pay it forward. Feels poetic. Feels earned. Emma came to visit last week. We got tacos set on the floor of my loft and watched bad reality shows with wine that cost way too much for how awful it tasted. She asked, "Do you miss them?" I thought for a while. Sometimes. But not the version they were. Just the version I thought they could be. She nodded like she understood. Because she does. Some people only exist in the fantasy of your hope. And when that fantasy breaks, you mourn someone who never really existed. Anyway, I don't talk to them. I don't check their socials. I don't Google their names. Not out of anger, just peace. Like imagine spending your whole life being the emotional janitor for people who tracked dirt into your world without ever saying thanks. Then one day, you set down the mop, walk out, and realize the mess wasn't your responsibility in the first place. That's where I'm at. 3 weeks ago, I got another letter. Not a message, not a text, a real-ass envelope. It was waiting in my mailbox when I got back from a weekend hiking trip. No return address again, but I knew the handwriting this time. Tessa. My stomach dropped the second I saw it. I stood there, keys still in my hand, dog leash tangled around my wrist, just staring at it like it might explode. Half of me wanted to toss it in the trash unopened. The other half wanted to know what version of the truth she was going to tell this time. So I opened it. It wasn't what I expected. No sob story, no manipulation, no passive-aggressive jabs wrapped in just being honest. Just this, I know I lied. I know what I did. I didn't understand then how far gone I was. I wanted to be seen so badly I didn't care who I stepped on. I saw your kindness as leverage. I used your generosity as a shortcut. And I told myself it was okay because you'd always forgive me. But you didn't. And honestly, I respect that. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to tell you that I know. And I'm sorry. That's it. No GoFundMe link, no miss you, no let's talk, just ownership. And yeah, it messed me up for a bit, because part of me wanted to be angry again, wanted to use her words like fuel, to go back into that fire torch in hand. But I couldn't. Not because I forgave her, I haven't. Maybe I never will. But because I've finally run out of space for resentment. There's only so much weight you can carry before it's not pain anymore. It's just drag. And I was done dragging people who refused to walk beside me. I didn't reply. Instead, I went to my desk, took out the same journal that now held both my mom's and my own letter, and added a third. Not to Tessa. To me. You did what they couldn't. You stopped the cycle. You walked away when staying would have cost you everything. And that doesn't make you cold. That makes you free. That night, I lit a candle on the balcony, cracked open a drink, and listened to an old playlist I made in college. The one I used to blast while coding at 2 a.m., half-starved, half-inspired, fully broke. It reminded me who I was before they needed me. And honestly, I missed that guy. I still keep quiet tabs on the world. Not on them, just life. Tessa's finishing her degree part-time now. I heard through Emma she got a job tutoring kids online. No more scams, no more sob threads, just work. Brandon moved to Dallas, selling insurance of all things, still wears those fleece vests, still sounds like a motivational speaker with a concussion. Dad's retired, mom volunteers at a food pantry. Their mortgage is handled now, not by me. They downsized to an apartment, nothing fancy, but manageable. They're surviving, maybe even learning. And me, I'm thriving, not in the Instagram travel influencer kind of way. I'm not out here sipping cocktails on yachts or fake smiling next to luxury cars. I'm thriving in the small stuff. Making my own coffee, laughing with friends I actually chose, sleeping through the night, saying no and not apologizing. That kind of thriving, the kind you can't fake online. And here's the real twist, the one I didn't see coming. I got invited to speak at a startup conference last week, some panel about ethical entrepreneurship or whatever. Afterward, this guy walks up to me, late 40s, dressed like a dad but with that VC vibe. We chat for a bit, nothing deep. Then he says, I read your piece on emotional equity and debt culture. Hit hard, felt like it was about my family. I blink. Because I never published that article, just shared it in a private Slack group for founders, a few close contacts. That's it. Turns out, someone screenshotted it and posted it anonymously on Medium. It went semi-viral in niche tech circles, got translated, cited, shared. People felt it. People I'll never meet saw my words and saw themselves. And in that moment, I realized something so simple I almost laughed out loud. The closure I thought I needed from my family, I already gave it to someone else. And that meant I had more than enough to keep for myself. The other day, Emma called. Said mom wanted to know if I'd consider coming to Thanksgiving this year. I smiled. I'll pass. Not out of spite, not out of anger. Out of peace. I'm not going back to the dinner table I had to build with my own hands just to be seated at the corner. Let them fill my chair with someone who still plays by their rules. I'm done pretending blood is enough to earn presents. Rusty's snoring on my lap as I type this. The heater's humming. My fridge is full, my inbox is clean, my phone's on Do Not Disturb, and no one is asking me for a damn thing. It's beautiful. If you're reading this and you're where I was silent, seething, trying so hard to be useful that you've forgotten what being whole even feels like, I want you to know something. You don't owe anyone your peace. Not because they raised you, not because they need you, not because it's what family does. You owe yourself the version of you that isn't exhausted. And sometimes the only way to meet that version is by walking away. My mom once told me, family doesn't abandon family. I believed that for years. But what I've learned is, real family doesn't make you abandon yourself just to be loved. That's the difference. And that's where I leave it. Not with a bang, not with a scream, just with a locked door, a quiet apartment, and a life I finally don't want to run away from. Thanks for listening. Really. Now go light your own damn candle. And don't wait for permission. Story 2. You ever have that gut feeling something's wrong even before it hits? That's exactly what I felt standing at the check-in counter. Suitcase in hand, London itinerary in my email, and a $3 million deal practically in my lap. But the guy behind the desk just blinked at me and said, Sorry, Miss Rivera, no reservation found. Excuse me, I thought maybe he just needed to refresh the screen, or maybe I gave him the wrong name somehow. But when he repeated it, no reservation, no record, nothing. I knew exactly who was behind this. I pulled out my phone and dialed her. Hey Cam, she answered syrupy as ever. What's going on? There's a problem with my flight, I said calmly, even though my jaw was clenched. Apparently, I don't have a ticket. Her pause was deliberate, calculated. Oh wow, that's strange. I booked it myself. Of course you did, Madison. Madison Lane, 35, senior executive and corporate snake in heels. She's been trying to edge me out ever since I landed a major international campaign last year. She hated that our CEO started looping me into big league decisions like this one. The London expansion pitch. The contract that could skyrocket my entire department. And now she was trying to hijack it. I hung up before she could fake another round of sympathy. Then I stood there in the terminal and reminded myself, breathe, think. Don't let her win. I wasn't new to this game. Madison's sabotage record was long. She once accidentally deleted part of my client proposal right before a key presentation. She forgot to pass along my invite to an executive dinner I was supposed to lead. She smiled while stealing credit, gaslighted with style, and undermined me with such precision you'd think she was born for it. But this was the final straw. She didn't know that I already had backup. Madison assumed she'd locked me out by grounding my flight. What she didn't know was that I'd sent the final version of the proposal to Logan Pierce, the CEO himself, the night before, just in case. And Logan, he didn't just read it, he responded. Look solid, Cam. See you in London. He knew what she was doing, and he was giving me rope. I smiled slow and sharp. Let her walk into that boardroom. Let her bask in the spotlight. She was about to find out what it felt like when the ground disappears under your feet. Because Madison didn't know I had already rerouted. Flashback, 1 year ago. The first time she tried to write me off, she didn't even hide it. We'd just finished a project that brought in a record quarter. Everyone was hyped. But as I stepped out of the conference room, I heard her through the glass. Cam's just a lucky rookie, nothing special. My stomach flipped. I had worked 18-hour days on that campaign, sacrificed weekends, burned out my eyesight. And this woman who'd spent more time networking than actually contributing just dismissed me like I was a fluke. From that moment, I started watching her. 9 months ago, she struck again. A client came back confused. Apparently, my proposal had missing projections. Except I double-checked those numbers, triple-checked, and when I reviewed the shared file, one section was missing. And the last edit, made by her, I took it to our IT department. They confirmed it. But when I confronted Madison, she played it like a performance. Oh God, Cam, I must have clicked something by mistake. You know I'd never do that intentionally. And our boss bought it. Don't make this a big deal, he'd said. I didn't. Not then. I filed it away. I learned. I adapted. 6 months ago, she started whispering poison into client ears. Cam's great, but she takes on too much. She can be a little impulsive. She smiled while saying it, like she was helping. But I wasn't naive. I saw what she was doing. She was planting seeds, quiet sabotage, the kind that grows over time. I stopped trusting her after that, and I started building walls. Back to present. As soon as I left the terminal, I headed to a private lounge nearby. My alternate flight, already booked under a dummy name, was departing in 4 hours. I'd made the reservation weeks ago just in case. I spent the time reviewing my pitch, rechecking the numbers, preparing for war. Across the ocean, Madison was already in the boardroom. I pictured her legs crossed, voice calm, blazer sharp, taking credit for a project she didn't build, selling my strategy like she crafted it from scratch. But I wasn't angry anymore, just focused. She wanted to play chess. Good, I was done being the pawn. Hours later, London. When I stepped into the hotel lobby, I didn't head straight to the meeting. I called Logan first. Cam, he said, picking up on the first ring, thought you'd be grounded. I was, I said, but not for long. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. I've got the boardroom warmed up for you, he said. Madison's putting on quite the show. Great, let her enjoy it, I said, grabbing my briefcase. She doesn't know the ending yet. I took the elevator up. Game time. The boardroom doors were glass, sleek, modern, the kind that makes you see your reflection just before you walk through them, like a final reminder of who you are before you face the wolves. And I was ready. The receptionist gave me a subtle nod as I passed. I didn't need an introduction. I could hear Madison's voice before I saw her. Of course I handled all the projections personally. She was saying all polish and poise. Our approach balances aggressive growth with sustainable benchmarks. You'll see it reflected in the fiscal model. I stepped through the doorway. Her words stumbled mid-sentence. Madison turned and I swear for a half second her face lost all color, like a glitch in real time. "Cam," she said blinking. I thought. Grounded, I finished stepping further in. Yeah, that was the plan, right? A few heads turned. Logan Pierce was already leaning back in his chair, watching this unfold like he had front row seats to a live performance. "Sorry I'm late," I said calmly, setting my folder on the table. "Shall we begin?" She didn't say a word, just sat down. I took the seat directly across from her. And then I took over. 3 weeks earlier, I'd had a feeling she was planning something. It started small. Madison requesting to be CC'd on all communications with the London clients. That alone wasn't strange, but the tone of her emails, she was inserting herself into meetings she hadn't been invited to, volunteering to take the lead on sections I'd already completed. When she accidentally forgot to send me the last client brief, I knew. So I started preparing. I resent every proposal, every revision, every document directly to Logan. I made sure my version had timestamps, approval trails embedded, spreadsheet links, even version histories from our internal platform. Nothing could be faked. Nothing could be erased. I also quietly booked a backup flight using a different name and a secure card, just in case. Because the thing about Madison, she was sloppy when she got greedy. Back in the boardroom, "Let's take a look at the cost mitigation plan," I said, clicking to the next slide. "You'll notice we adjusted for currency fluctuations post-Brexit and included alternate supplier strategies if tariffs shift. That section starts on page 12. Silence. Everyone flipped to the page. Madison shifted in her seat. I didn't look at her. Logan's gaze never left my face. "This is the version you sent me, correct?" I nodded. "Finalized and reviewed last Tuesday." He tapped the folder in front of him, the one Madison had handed out earlier. "Interesting," he said, "because this version," he paused, "is missing several key components." Madison opened her mouth. I knew what was coming. Well, I hadn't received Cam's updated files yet, and I wanted to ensure the meeting. "I sent them to you on Wednesday," I said, eyes still on the room. "You replied, actually. Said you'd review and merge our edits." More silence. I didn't need to twist the knife. I just let the facts speak. "One of the London partners." James cleared his throat. "I'm confused," he said, frowning. "So which version are we considering here?" "The one that's complete," Logan said. "Cam's?" Madison stared at her folder like it betrayed her. And maybe it had. Flashback, 5 months ago. Madison once told me during a company dinner that women in corporate had 2 options, charm or claws. "You can't have both," she'd said, sipping her wine. "Men hate a woman who's smarter and colder than them. So pick a lane." I had smiled, then lips tight, because I knew which one she thought I'd chosen. But she didn't understand me at all. I wasn't trying to be charming. I was trying to survive. "Let's take a 5-minute break," Logan said. "We'll reconvene with feedback." Everyone rose. Madison stayed seated. I stood, walked past her without looking down, but she grabbed my arm. "Did you really have to do that?" she whispered. I turned, looked her in the eye. "You did it to yourself," I said. Then I walked out. In the hallway, I took a breath. I hadn't expected it to feel like this. I thought it'd be cathartic, a rush, maybe even triumphant. But instead, all I felt was tired, like the war had taken more out of me than I realized. "Nice work in there," Logan said, joining me at the window. "Thanks," I said. "I just wanted it to be fair." He nodded. "You earned it." There was a pause. "She's going to push back," he added. "I know, but it's done. Your lead on the expansion, effective immediately." I didn't smile, just nodded once, because it wasn't about Madison anymore. Not really. It was about finally being seen and refusing to be erased. Later that evening, hotel bar. I sat with my laptop open, reading a message from the legal department. Madison's access to the project files had been suspended. Then another email came through HR. She was under internal review. I closed the laptop. The bartender slid a drink toward me. "Looks like you had a good day," he said. I gave a small smile. "You could say that." Meanwhile, Madison's hotel room. She was pacing. The boardroom had turned cold the moment Cam walked in, like someone cut the oxygen. She'd tried to salvage it, tried to spin it, but the numbers didn't lie. And Logan, he'd already made his choice. Now alone in the room, her phone lit up with a new email, another one, and then another. She opened the HR notice first. "Reassignment pending investigation." Her hand trembled. She'd always assumed she was untouchable, that her tactics were smart, not dangerous. But maybe she'd miscalculated. She sat down hard on the edge of the bed. For the first time in years, she was afraid. Epilogue to Part 2. By the time I landed back in New York, I had a new office waiting for me. My name on the door, my team fully briefed, my calendar booked with international meetings. No one mentioned Madison. No one needed to. I'd moved on. The project was mine. The respect was earned. And as I watched the city pass by from my cab window, I felt it for the first time in a long time. Power, without apology. But in the back of my mind, something lingered. A whisper. This isn't over. 6 weeks. That's how long it took for Madison Lane to vanish from our company roster. Not with a bang, not with a press release, just silence. One day she was in her corner office and the next her name tag was gone and her desk was cold. HR called it a mutual parting, but everyone knew the truth. She burned herself. I didn't dance on her grave. I didn't need to. Her own lies had done the job. What surprised me though was how quickly people moved on, like she never mattered. No goodbye drinks, no LinkedIn tribute, not even a passive-aggressive group email. She had spent years fighting to be seen as irreplaceable, and now she was invisible. Flashback, 2 years ago. She cornered me in the elevator after my first pitch meeting. "You don't belong in this room," she said casually, as if offering advice. "You're smart, Cam, but this place, it eats people like you." I didn't respond. I just smiled. But I never forgot it. Because what she meant wasn't about skill. It was about power. About me not fitting the mold, too direct, too ambitious, too unwilling to play dumb for ego boosts. She saw me as a threat long before I saw her as an enemy. Present-day Midtown Cafe. I saw her again exactly 45 days after London. She didn't see me. She was sitting near the window in a cafe coat, too thin for the wind, staring down at a cracked phone. Hair tied up messily. No laptop, no briefcase. Just a lukewarm coffee and a pair of eyes that didn't blink enough. She looked small. It hit me harder than I expected. Not guilt, not pity, just reality. She had been powerful once, feared, admired even. And now she looked like someone who hadn't slept right in a month. I should have walked away, but instead I walked in. She noticed me the second the bell above the door chimed. Her eyes widened, flicked down to her cup, then back up. I ordered a drink, sat down across from her. We didn't say anything for a moment. Just two women with too much history and not enough space between us. Finally, she spoke. "So, you won." I tilted my head. Didn't know it was a game. She looked away. It always was. I stayed silent. "I didn't expect you to actually make it," she muttered. "You were different." I nodded. "I still am." She looked back at me, then really looked. And something shifted in her expression. Not hatred, not fear. Resentment, yes, but also understanding. "I shouldn't have underestimated you," she said. I didn't gloat. I didn't twist the knife. Instead, I stood. "I'm not here to celebrate," I said. "I'm here because you gave me no choice." She looked down at her cup. I left. That was the last time I saw her. 3 months later. Headlines. My name hit the business column of Forbes before I even had time to breathe it in. Cameron Rivera named one of the top 10 emerging power executives of the year. Logan texted me one line. "Told you." The photo was taken during the Paris launch. I was in a navy suit, arms crossed, city skyline behind me. Madison wasn't in the picture. She wasn't in any pictures anymore. Flashback 7 months ago. I once overheard her talking to a colleague about legacy. "We don't get remembered for being nice," she said. "We get remembered for winning." I disagreed then, quietly. But now I understood. Because I didn't destroy her. She did that all by herself, by turning everything into a competition. By underestimating everyone but herself. By thinking you win, by stepping on people instead of walking beside them. And now, she wasn't remembered at all. Present Awards Gala. The lights were bright, music low, champagne flowing. I stood near the back, watching names flash across the big screen. When mine appeared, the applause hit harder than I expected. Cameron Rivera, International Growth Lead, Global Strategist. I walked up, accepted the award, and gave a short speech. But I didn't talk about numbers, or profits, or even leadership. I talked about grit. Sometimes I said, voice calm, it's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about staying when others try to push you out. It's about doing the work while they're busy playing politics. It's about standing tall even when someone's trying to cut your legs from under you. And that was it. No names. No revenge tour. Just truth. And they applauded. After the gala, Logan, We were walking out of the hotel when Logan fell into step beside me. You know, he said she applied for a consulting role with one of our partners last week. I blinked. She did. He nodded. Didn't even make it past screening. I said nothing. He added, your name came up on the panel. There it was. Madison's past, finally catching up. She's still trying, I asked. She's trying to come back, he said, but some exits don't come with return tickets. I nodded once. Good. And that was the end of that conversation. Later, my apartment. I sat by the window looking out over the skyline. In my lap was a folder. The next big pitch, bigger than London, bigger than anything. But I closed it. For once I just wanted to sit, to breathe, to exist without needing to fight or prove or defend. My phone buzzed. A DM request, username at Real Madison Lane. I didn't open it. I deleted it. And just like that, she was gone again. Epilogue to Part 3. Madison Lane faded the way most villains do in real life. Not with fireworks or fiery meltdowns, but with unanswered emails, forgotten calls, and silence. I didn't win because I outplayed her. I won because I outlasted her. Because I refused to break. Because I chose truth when she chose deception. And now I don't look back. 1 year. That's how long it had been since I walked into that boardroom and took everything Madison tried to steal. 12 months since she lost the very game she created. It should have felt like ancient history, and for the most part it did. I had a new title now, Head of International Strategy. Oversaw teams across 4 countries. My days were stacked with meetings, mergers, launches. My name showed up in articles I didn't even know I'd been interviewed for. I had become the kind of woman younger me used to daydream about becoming: calm, powerful, respected. But even now, I still checked over my shoulder sometimes, not because I was scared, but because I knew better than to believe silence meant peace. March 10th, the gala. It was the 1-year anniversary of the London pitch. Logan and I had flown in to attend a private gala in Monaco. Sleek suits, sharp lighting glasses clinking like applause. The room was full of power. Politicians, tech CEOs, the kinds of people who read balance sheets like bedtime stories. And me, the kid from nowhere with an overworked resume and a good memory for betrayal. As I stood there, drink in hand, I caught a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. A woman in black, dark lipstick, familiar posture. My heart stalled, just for a second. Madison. No, just a stranger with the same haircut. But that second of hesitation, it reminded me. She hadn't really gone away. 2 weeks earlier, the email. It came through my assistant's inbox. Subject: Strategic Consultant Inquiry. Nothing strange about that until she scrolled to the signature. Madison Lane. No message body, no apology, no pretense. Just the name, just the request. She wanted a meeting. My assistant flagged it immediately. Do you want me to block her? She asked. I paused. No, I said. Schedule it. The meeting. We met in a quiet restaurant in Soho. Neutral ground. She arrived first. Of course she did. Her posture was still rigid, but the sharpness was dulled. No designer handbag. Just a leather notebook and a pen that looked borrowed. Cam, she said softly. I nodded. Why now? I asked, sitting across from her. She took a breath. Because I've spent a year watching you do what I thought I deserved. I raised an eyebrow. And I'm not here to take anything this time, she said. I'm here to ask. I wasn't expecting that. She continued. I thought if I won, I'd finally feel whole. I thought power would fix whatever I hated about myself. But it didn't. It just made me worse. Her voice cracked slightly. I sabotaged people because I was scared they'd find out I wasn't enough on my own. I didn't respond right away. Because I knew that feeling. Maybe not in the same way. But I'd been there feeling like I had to prove something to a world that kept underestimating me. But the difference. I never chose to break others just to hold myself up. I don't want forgiveness, she said. Just clarity. I need to know I tried to fix what I broke. I stared at her for a long moment. I can't give you clarity, I said. That's something you find in the mirror, not across a table. She looked down, nodded. But I can give you this, I added. I'm not your enemy anymore. You don't take up space in my mind like you used to. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked it back. She smiled faintly. That's more than I expected. She left first. And just like that, she was gone again. Present day, my apartment. I stood on my balcony watching the city exhale below me. Sometimes success looks like trophies. Other times, it looks like sleeping through the night without bracing for sabotage. I still had the email she sent. Never replied. And I didn't need to. Because some revenge doesn't come from watching someone fall. It comes from standing so tall they can't reach you anymore, even if they finally stretch for the right reasons. Flashback, my first day. Madison had cornered me near the elevators. "You look too hopeful," she said, smiling with teeth. "Give it a few months. This place eats the nice ones first." She had no idea then. I wasn't nice. I was focused and hungry. And now, I was full. Final scene, 1-year anniversary presentation. The screen behind me showed the global map color-coded with our new office locations, each one a marker of work grit and quiet war won behind closed doors. I turned back to the crowd. "We didn't get here by chance," I said. "We got here because we stopped playing games and started making moves." The room nodded, clapped. I walked off stage, heart steady. No nerves, no fear, just truth. Final words. Madison Lane was a chapter. I'm the whole book. And this was just the prologue. Story 3. I never imagined my life would take such a turn. At 27, I was content with my modest lifestyle, working as a graphic designer, living in a small apartment, and spending weekends with friends. I wasn't searching for a fairy tale, but then I met Alexander, a 32-year-old entrepreneur with a charm that could disarm anyone. Our worlds collided at a charity event. He was the keynote speaker, and I was there to support a friend. His speech was inspiring, and when our eyes met across the room, something clicked. We started dating, and it felt like a dream. Lavish dinners, spontaneous trips, and heartfelt conversations. Alexander was attentive, kind, and seemed genuinely interested in me. I was swept off my feet. After 6 months, he proposed during a weekend getaway. Under a starlit sky, he knelt and asked me to be his wife. Overwhelmed with emotion, I said yes. The engagement period was a whirlwind. His family was affluent and well-connected, and I felt out of place among them. But Alexander assured me that love transcended social status. His mother Victoria was poised and elegant, but had a way of making me feel small. At our engagement party, she raised a glass and said, "See, even an ordinary girl can get a chance at a better life if she waits long enough." Laughter followed, but I felt the sting. I brushed it off, thinking it was just her sense of humor. But as the wedding approached, the subtle jabs became more frequent. At a family dinner, everyone was served gourmet dishes while I received a plain salad. Victoria smiled and said, "We must watch our figure, dear." I tried to laugh along, but the discomfort grew. Alexander remained silent during these moments, which hurt more than the comments themselves. I confided in my best friend Lily, who urged me to reconsider the marriage. But I was in love and believed things would improve after the wedding. The night before the ceremony, I couldn't sleep. A nagging feeling kept me awake. I chalked it up to pre-wedding jitters. The next morning, as I prepared for the big day, Victoria requested a private conversation. In a calm tone, she revealed that Alexander had a brief affair months ago, but insisted it meant nothing. She emphasized the importance of maintaining appearances and urged me to proceed with the wedding. I was stunned. Not only had Alexander betrayed me, but his entire family had kept it a secret. The realization hit me hard. I returned to the bridal suite, heart pounding. Lily noticed my distress, and I told her everything. She looked me in the eye and said, "You don't have to go through with this." I nodded, determination replacing doubt. It was time to take control of my narrative. I stood in the bridal suite, fingers trembling, my silk robe barely keeping my emotions wrapped in. The room smelled like roses and hairspray. Everything was picture perfect except me. Lily paced the floor, eyes blazing. "Tell me you're not going through with it." My heart thudded in my chest. "I don't know, I thought I did." After what his mother just told you, her voice cracked like a whip. She literally admitted he cheated and that they all covered it up. I sat down numb. "I feel like I'm dreaming." "No, Han, this is your wake-up call." Silence hung between us, thick with the weight of betrayal. Then Lily crouched beside me and grabbed both my hands. "If you want out, I'll help you vanish. But if you want revenge," she smirked, "then we don't cancel this wedding. We rewrite it." I blinked. "Rewrite?" Lily's grin widened. "You're not walking away ashamed. You're walking out powerful." I took a deep breath and said, "Let's burn it down." The ceremony was set in a grand ballroom. Marble floors, golden arches, a live-string quartet playing some classical piece I couldn't name. Guests filled the seats in rows, all dressed like they were auditioning for a luxury fashion shoot. Alexander stood at the altar looking smug. Custom tux, fake charm, the kind of man who thought a smile and a Rolex could clean up the truth. He didn't know what was coming. I slipped into my dress, but not for him. For me. I looked at myself in the mirror, white gown, flawless makeup veil perfectly pinned, and I whispered, "They're going to remember this." When the music shifted, everyone stood. I stepped into the room, Lily holding my train. Every pair of eyes turned. Some with admiration, some with envy, some with judgment, and some like Victoria's narrowed already, sensing a shift in the air. I walked slowly, savoring every second. Each step was a declaration I know, and I'm not afraid. When I reached the altar, Alexander smiled. "You look amazing." I didn't respond. Instead, I turned to the crowd. "Thank you all for being here," I said, voice steady and echoing. "I've been told this is the happiest day of a woman's life, the beginning of something beautiful." I glanced at Alexander. "But I've always believed a marriage should start with honesty." He stiffened. "And since no one else seems interested in telling the truth," I continued, "I guess it's up to me." Gasps scattered like raindrops on marble. Alexander Versi said locking eyes with him has been unfaithful. Not just once, not just a mistake. For months. His jaw dropped. "What the hell?" I raised my hand. You don't get to talk right now." A ripple of murmurs surged through the room. And the best part, I added, voice rising. His entire family knew. His mother who smiled at me during dress fittings, his sister who threw me a bridal shower. They all knew. And they decided I didn't need to. Victoria stood abruptly. "This is inappropriate. We'll handle this privately." "No, Victoria," I snapped. "You made this public the moment you decided silence was easier than integrity." Alexander grabbed my arm. "You're ruining everything." I yanked free. "No, I'm revealing everything." The guests were stunned. Whispers, gasps, phones beginning to discreetly record. But I wasn't done. "Oh, and speaking of secrets," I said casually, "we have a guest of honor today." The side doors opened and in walked her. Tall, glossy hair, red lips, the other woman. She paused at the edge of the aisle, arms folded like a model in a scandal shoot. Alexander went pale. "You brought her? She deserved to know who you really are," I replied sweetly. "And honestly, I thought it would be rude not to invite the woman you've been dating behind my back." The crowd lost it. Gasps turned into full-on whispers. The photographers couldn't stop snapping. One of the flower girls started crying. Alexander turned to his mistress. "I told you she was controlling. You said you understood." Her voice rang out. "You told me you were single." More gasps. I took off my ring and held it up like an auction prize. "For anyone wondering, this was a lie too," I said, then dropped it on the marble floor. It hit with a sharp metallic click. I turned to the exit, lifting my dress slightly so it wouldn't drag. But I paused one last time and looked over my shoulder. "Thanks for the lesson," I said. "I'll take honesty and self-respect over diamonds and lies." And then I walked out. Outside, Lily was already waiting by the car engine running. "Get in, legend," she said. "We're making history today." I kicked off my heels and climbed in. The moment the door slammed shut, I burst into laughter. It wasn't polite or pretty, it was loud, chaotic, and free. Notifications flooded my phone, texts, calls, social media mentions. "Alexander, come back, we can talk." "Victoria, this is unacceptable. You've embarrassed the entire family." His sister, "Holy hell, you really did it." Lily tossed me a bottle of champagne from the cooler in the back seat. "To freedom." I popped it with a grin. "To war." We stopped at a gas station 2 hours later. My dress was bunched up in the passenger seat, champagne stains and all. I walked into the store barefoot, grabbed a soda and a bag of flaming chips, and walked back out like I wasn't the most Googled woman of the hour. When we reached my apartment, I collapsed on the couch and turned my phone back on. The video was everywhere. A guest had recorded the entire scene, my speech, the mistress, the ring drop, everything. It had over 1 million views in 2 hours. The title: Bride turns, wedding into expose, groom gets wrecked in front of everyone. The comment section was wild. She ate and left no crumbs. This is Oscar-worthy. Alexander crying in HD is my Roman Empire. I didn't reply to anything. I just smiled and let the internet do what it does best, turn pain into power. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No lies under my roof, no fake family, no cheating fiance. Just me, just freedom. And honestly, it felt like a beginning, not an ending. By morning, my phone had turned into a siren of chaos. 32 missed calls, dozens of voicemails, hundreds of unread texts, and over 4 million views. The video had exploded online overnight. Clips of me calling out Alexander at the altar were spliced with reaction edits, dramatic voiceovers, even TikToks titled "The Bride Who Chose Violence and We Cheered." I didn't feel humiliated. I felt seen. Apparently so did everyone else. Lily, bless her, brought over croissants and a bottle of wine before noon. You've broken the internet. How does it feel? Oddly peaceful, I said, scrolling through the comments. She's my hero. The way she said you don't get to talk right now should be taught in schools. Alexander's mom is probably plotting a press release. I sipped my coffee. They're probably hosting an emergency PR meeting. Lily's eyes sparkled. Good, let them panic. Meanwhile, according to Lily's very well-connected cousin who worked at the same country club, Alexander's mother, Victoria, had a full-blown meltdown after I walked out. She reportedly slapped Alexander across the face, accused him of sinking the family legacy, and had to be escorted out before she threw her champagne at the pianist. Honestly, I felt honored. 3 days later, the apology parade. The first to text was Alexander's sister, Bianca. Okay, I didn't like you at first, but that was iconic. Mom hasn't stopped crying. Dad called the lawyer, and Alexander, he's hiding in Grandma's basement. Honestly, respect. I ignored it. Next came Alexander himself. We need to talk. I know you're angry. I made a mistake. I blocked the number. 10 minutes later, a new one popped up. Don't punish me forever for one bad decision. Then another. You were the one thing that kept me grounded. I didn't reply. I didn't even get mad. I just felt nothing. A week later, unexpected twist. I received a handwritten letter from his father. I should have stopped the wedding myself. I knew something was off. I let my wife run the narrative and it hurt you. I'm sorry. If nothing else, I hope you walk away knowing your integrity scared the hell out of everyone in that room and inspired more people than you'll ever realize. I stared at the letter for a long time. I didn't know if it was guilt or damage control. Maybe both. But it didn't matter. I had already moved on. My life, it took off. The wedding video led to an explosion of attention, podcasts, interviews, even a request from a women's rights nonprofit to speak at their annual summit. Apparently calling out Betrayal in designer heels was marketable. I said no to most offers. I wasn't trying to be famous. But when an indie publisher emailed me about writing my story, I said yes. It felt right to turn something ugly into something healing. And Alexander, last I heard, he lost several major investors after the video. The scandal made him too toxic to touch. His mother wasn't invited to a charity gala for the first time in 20 years. His sister ironically gained a few thousand followers just from association, though her comments were mostly, "Why didn't you warn her?" As for the mistress, she went viral too, for calling him a bargain bin narcissist on her Instagram story. Lily framed the quote on a mug for me. It said, "This tea is hotter than the groom's ego." 1 month later, the bookstore. I was in the aisle browsing when I felt it eyes on me. I turned. There he was, Alexander. Hair slightly disheveled, tie loose, face paler than I remembered. He took a hesitant step forward. Hey, you look good." I raised an eyebrow. "Didn't expect to see you in the self-help section." He gave a weak laugh. "Fair." We stood there for a second too long. Then he blurted, "I'm sorry." I said nothing. I ruined everything. I lied. I was a coward. I let them treat you like a project. I wish I could undo it. "You can't," I said softly. He looked at the floor. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said. "I don't even think about you." That was the truth. He flinched like I'd hit him. "I guess I deserve that." "You deserve honesty, just not from me anymore." And with that, I walked past him, no rush, no drama, just peace. Later that night, Lily and I were on my balcony again. Wine, pizza, a playlist of girl power anthems humming in the background. She toasted her glass. To rising from the ashes. I smiled. To building something better instead. Epilogue. A year later, the book came out. The Bride Wore Courage. It wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about choosing yourself when the world tells you to stay silent. About walking out, not because you're weak, but because you finally remembered your worth. I got messages from women everywhere. Strangers, mothers, even a grandmother in Australia who said she wished she had walked away 40 years ago. And that meant everything. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm free. And in a world that tried so hard to make me feel small, that's the most radical thing I could be. Exactly 1 year to the day since the wedding, I woke up to sunshine pouring through my apartment window, a soft breeze stirring the linen curtains, and no trace of the woman I used to be. No white dress hanging in the closet, no unwanted in-laws calling, no lies sitting heavy on my chest. Just light, just air, just me. I poured myself a coffee, checked my calendar, and smiled. A packed event full of readers, survivors, and people who came not for gossip but for grit. I had turned a personal implosion into a full-fledged movement. Not bad for someone they once called ordinary. Healing doesn't happen in headlines. In the months that followed my public walkout, people wanted updates. They asked if I got therapy. I did. They asked if I ever regretted how I exposed him. I didn't. They asked if I missed him. Not for a second. But healing wasn't just about answering questions. It was about reclaiming everything. My time, my joy, my voice. There were nights I cried without knowing why. Mornings I hesitated before opening emails, bracing for some new twist. It took time to stop flinching from my past. But I got there. And when I did, it was like a second kind of freedom. Lily called it my main character era. I wasn't just existing anymore, I was living. I traveled. I spoke at panels. I did a photo shoot where I stood barefoot on a rooftop in a black gown, champagne bottle in hand. The caption, "To all the girls who walked away when the world expected them to kneel." It went viral again. But this time it wasn't about scandal. It was about strength. And Alexander. Every now and then, someone would send me updates. He'd joined another firm. Smaller, less glamorous, more corporate damage control than vision. A mutual acquaintance said he started dating a woman his mother approved of. She was tall, quiet, came from money. But apparently the spark wasn't there. Because here's the thing, you can't build love out of expectations and reputation. You have to build it out of truth. And truth was never his strong suit. One night months later, I was signing books after an event in Seattle when someone passed me a copy with a yellow sticky note inside. It said, "Your story helped me leave. Thank you for making it okay to say I deserve better." Her name was Ava, late 30s, 3 kids, married 15 years. She stood in front of me, eyes glassy, and whispered, "You saved my life." I hugged her, not because I had answers, but because we both survived silence. Final closure came softly. I was walking home one evening, no makeup, hoodie on, iced matcha in hand, when I heard my name. I turned. Victoria. Yes, that Victoria. She looked older, smaller, not in years but in presence. She gave me a tight smile. "May I?" I shrugged. "Suit yourself?" We sat on a bench under a street lamp. She took a breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I raised an eyebrow. For what specifically? The jokes, the lies. The chicken breast, dinner when everyone else got steak. She flinched. All of it. A long pause passed. Then she said, "My world taught me that control equals safety. That image is everything. But you reminded me what it looks like to have integrity." I didn't say anything. She looked down at her lap. "I don't expect forgiveness, just to be heard." I nodded once. "You've been heard." And I stood. That was all the closure I needed. 1 year later, my new life. I was living in a bright apartment by the water. Plants thrived on my windowsill. I hosted brunch for friends without worrying about silverware matching or napkin etiquette. Lily came over every Sunday. We danced in the kitchen. We laughed until our sides ached. We toasted with mimosas and said cheers to the girl who got away. And on some evenings when the sun dipped low and painted the sky with soft oranges and golds, I sat outside and thought about the girl I used to be. Scared, small, trying so hard to be enough for people who never deserved her. I loved her deeply because she survived. And now, I don't chase closure anymore. I don't rewrite texts. I don't shrink to fit into rooms that mock my value. I don't wait for apologies that never come. Because I've learned the truth. You don't need someone else to validate your worth when you've already claimed it for yourself. Final scene. I'm back in that bookstore, not browsing this time, but on the cover. My second book sits on the front display. The Exit. How I Left the Wrong Story and Found My Own. Someone walks up to me and asks, "Did you ever imagine this life?" I smile. No, but I stopped asking for permission to live it. Final words. To anyone who's ever been told they're too loud, too much, too emotional, too ambitious, too ordinary. You're not too anything. You're just too powerful for people who fear what they can't control. So take the dress off. Kick the heels away. Walk out. And never look back.